Imagine waking up in a world where one empire controls nearly everything you know, from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of India, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Persian Gulf. One king ruled over millions of people from dozens of different cultures. It wasn't Rome. It wasn't the Mongols. It was the Persian Empire. At its height, it became the largest empire the world had ever seen. So, how did an almost forgotten kingdom become the most powerful empire of the ancient world? More than 2,500 years ago, Persia was just one of many small kingdoms in the Middle East. It was surrounded by powerful enemies and seemed unlikely to change history. But everything changed with one man. His name was Cyrus. Unlike many rulers of his time, Cyrus wasn't known only for his military skills. He was also a brilliant strategist. Instead of destroying every city he conquered, he often allowed people to keep their traditions, religions, and local leaders. Many people welcomed Persian rule instead of resisting it. This made the empire grow faster than almost anyone expected. Under Cyrus and the kings who followed him, Persia expanded at an incredible speed. Within only a few decades, it conquered Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. Soon, the empire stretched across 3 continents. Millions of people now lived under Persian rule. At its peak, the empire covered nearly 8 million square kilometers. Never before had one empire controlled so much land. But Persia wasn't powerful just because of its army. The empire introduced ideas that were centuries ahead of their time. It built the Royal Road, a massive highway stretching over 2,500 kilometers. Messengers could deliver information across the empire in only a few days. The Persians also divided the empire into provinces called satrapies. Each province had its own governor, but answered directly to the king. This allowed millions of people to be governed surprisingly efficiently. They even created one of the world's first large postal systems. Protecting such a huge empire required an extraordinary army. One of its most famous units became known as the Immortals. They were an elite force of 10,000 soldiers. Whenever one warrior died or became injured, another immediately replaced him. To outsiders, it looked as if their numbers never changed. That's why the Greeks called them the Immortals. But like every great empire, Persia eventually began to weaken. In 330 before Christus, Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire. But although the empire disappeared, its ideas did not. Roads, government, communication, religious tolerance. Many concepts used by later civilizations were inspired by Persia. Today, most people remember Rome. Some remember the Mongols. But one of history's greatest empires quietly changed the world. And almost nobody talks about it anymore. Maybe it's finally time to remember.